welcome. First of all, welcome. This is Unsolicited Perspectives. I'm your host, Bruce Anthony, here to lead the conversation in important events and topics that are shaping today's society. Join the conversation and follow us wherever you get your audio podcast. Subscribe to our YouTube channel for our video podcast and YouTube exclusive content. Rate, review, like, comment, share. Share with your friends, share with your family, hell, even share with your enemies. On today's episode, I'm going to be talking to Devonnte Moody. He's the host of Unscripted Growth Podcast. He's also an entrepreneur and an alignment coach. We're going to be talking about his life and his work. But that's enough of the intro. Let's get to the show. Like I said at the top, I'm here with Devonnte Moody. He's a 27-year-old entrepreneur, podcaster, alignment coach dedicated to helping people transform their mindset, break generational cycles, and step into their true potential. He's also the host of Growth Unscripted Podcast. We'll be talking about his podcast and his life. But Devonnte, thank you for coming on the show today. It's going to be a real treat having you on, talking about your life and what you're doing.
Hey, bro, listen, I just want to thank you so much for having me on here today. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah, no, hey, look, I always want to introduce people to new podcasters. And I know that you have your Growth Unscripted and you've done about 10 episodes so far. And if I can give you a little spotlight to grow your audience, I'm all for it because I think you have an interesting story and I think my audience will enjoy listening to you talk about your story. So, yeah, man, thank you for coming on.
No, appreciate it, bro. Appreciate it. I can't wait.
All right. I always start every interview the same. Let's go to the beginning. Can you tell me a little bit about your upbringing, your family? Tell me some stories of just the highs and lows of you growing up in your early life.
Oh, man. Whew. Man, I don't know where to start. There's a lot right there. So, once again, like you said, my name is Devonnte. 27 years old. I was actually born and raised in Emporia, Virginia. For those who don't know, very small town. You could easily go right past it within a matter of seconds. I actually graduated from Greensville County High School. I used to play football, played basketball, played soccer. I did play baseball, even though funny enough, when I did play baseball, I never hit the ball until like my last game. And then when I did, I got out.
So you didn't play baseball.
So I basically didn't play baseball.
Right.
No, not at all. But, it's the thought that counts. I get the participation trophy. So That's what matters.
All right.
So, yeah. So pretty much grew up. My dad raised me for a little while. And then over time, my grandma got custody of me and my sister. And I started living with her and stuff with our uncle at the time. And pretty much grew up in the country. So pretty much country boy. We were so far in the country. My best friend was a raccoon, right? And the thing is like one day I got home from school and I was like, where the raccoon at? And then next thing you know, I find out my grandma cooked the raccoon and ate it.
Okay.
So
wait a minute. Hold up. Okay. That is country as hell. So I have a couple of questions, and I'm definitely going to get back to this raccoon situation. But so you brought up your dad and that your dad raised you for a little while, and then your grandmother got custody. Where's your mother?
So my mom was there. So like my mom and dad were together for a little while, but then pretty much it didn't work out. So then my mom veered off. And then my mom, funny enough, she actually ended up moving to Richmond, Virginia. Probably like by the time I was like maybe, don't quote me on it, but I was like around 8 or 9. So like she did come down to visit me and my sister and stuff from time to time and stuff. But there was, of course, some holes there to where, of course, I wish my mom was there for certain things. So, one thing about me that I've learned is that when I was growing up, even when I had conversations with adults, they always told me I'm wise beyond my years just because of how I'm able to understand situations at a young age.
Okay.
So I was able to pick up on how there were times when my mom come visit me at my grandma's house and stuff. but then, she said she'll stay a week, but then all of a sudden, like overnight, she'll go and leave, go back to Richmond and stuff like that. So, dealing with that constantly, it caused, like that thing of, dang, like my mom, like, does my mom love me? Does she even care about us? Stuff like that, right? And I know that she will always, looking back on it, she will always used to come buy us like the latest toys, give me like all the video games, even though I used to beat a whole video game back in the day within like 20 minutes to an hour. so, so if I ever had my stack of GameCube collection of games, it was like about a good like 100 of games, and I beat them all within like an hour or two. So you realize that she used gifts and stuff to kind of like cover the sense of, hey, I'm not here all the time type of deal, right? In which, yeah, it may have helped for a little bit, but over time, especially as well, me be able to see, we go to like the drop offs at elementary school. I'm getting out, me and my sister get dropped off. I see other parents hugging their parents and stuff like that with the kids. And, I didn't like, I'm like, where's my mom and dad in this, So I realized that over time, I started creating that trauma of the sense of abandonment and the sense of like the lack of love and stuff like that, which kind of played a part into some things where we might get into a little bit later, in terms of like my relationships and stuff like that. But yeah, there's been a lot of trials and tribulations growing up. I ain't gonna sit here and say, oh, we was hungry and starving, nothing like that. But it was definitely the sense of, at least I would say from the childhood of, hey, mom and dad wasn't really around consistently like that all the time. And then even with my dad, funny enough, when I used to play football and stuff, he literally lived like 5 minutes away, right? And all he had to really do was like walk to the high school. That's all he had to really do. And so he never really been to any of my football games until like maybe graduation, and maybe one other game if that. So there was always these different things that kind of like I held on to for a long time growing up and stuff with my dad and my parents and everything.
What was the whole process of your grandmother gaining custody?
So pretty much the whole thing behind that was that from what I remember, they were saying that my dad used to send us to school hungry, and he did take a shower and like tattered clothes and stuff like that. I don't remember it like that at all.
And about how old were you?
When she had custody of us, I think it was probably like around. Actually, I think that was probably like around like maybe like around 8 or 9, somewhere between 7 and 9.
Okay.
Because funny enough was that my dad, when he used to work at Walmart at the time, like he used to spend time with me and my sister all the time. We played around, all of that. But then something definitely changed when after he lost his job at Walmart, to where it started becoming that point of he wasn't spending as much time with us as he used to. So I never really knew what was really going on inside his mental, in a sense, from that point on. And I know he used to be in the Army and everything, but it would just, I think honestly, he's the kind of guy to where like he kind of goes with the flow of things in life. So not saying like he gives up in a sense, but in a sense he kind of does to a degree, to where, yeah, he'll keep going, but it's never going to be like that overachieving.
Okay.
It's kind of like just, hey, just enough to get to, hey, I'm good here, I'm gonna stay here.
Bare minimum.
Yeah, bare minimum.
Okay, so your grandmother gets custody somewhere around you're 7 or 9 years old. This is your paternal or your maternal grandmother?
It's my paternal
Okay,
grandmother.
so
My mom.
it's your mom's mom.
Yeah.
So your maternal grandmother. So what is that like, being raised by your grandmother, your mom dropping in sometimes, your dad's around, and here's her daughter that will pop up and every now and then be around and then take off again. So I know you're young at this time, but do you see any type of strain on your grandmother?
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure, because I'm sure my grandma would love. I know my grandma, of course, wanted, of course, spend time with us and everything. So, and she definitely did a great job in doing the best that she could for us. That's what I am very grateful for her for. And the thing I know definitely for sure, it definitely been hard on her for some times, especially I'm sure that she probably wanted to go out and do things too that she probably wanted to do, but she couldn't.
Mm-hmm.
And so for her to even take on the job of taking me and my sister in, taking me and my sister in and stuff for custody and stuff like that, I mean, I really appreciate her a lot for that. And for her to even be able to even go through, do all the trials, tribulations, because also too, I was in and out of hospital at a young age too.
Why?
I had asthma.
Okay.
So this is before they came up with the whole Advair and all that other stuff they had going, other stuff and everything. But so I was like in the hospital like almost every week,
Mm.
every single week. So it was at a point to where I thought I probably would never even be able to play sports and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's how bad it was. And so like me being in the hospital all the time, and then also sometimes, for at least from what I can remember, my dad probably came, stopped by maybe a couple times. I did see my mom a few times. There was actually a time she actually did stay like a week. She did stay like a week with me in the hospital and stuff like that too, and everything. So it was me, but having asthma was definitely a rough thing.
Mm-hmm.
It was definitely a rough thing at the time because I want to go outside. I wanted to know exercise. I wanted to like just enjoy being outdoors,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so for me to be in the hospital all the time between that and then allergy season, it was definitely pretty hectic.
Especially living in the country. Now, I definitely want to get into how the relationship with your mother and father affected you with other people. But let's talk about this pet raccoon. Okay. Because this is very country. What type of friendship did you have with this pet raccoon? Like,
I mean, it wasn't a friendship of coming in the house.
I mean,
But
obviously, right?
yeah, it was a friendship of, I see it every day. It used to come from out of the woods behind like near the shred shed and stuff that we had. And so, I used to like pretty much feed it, every once in a while and everything, something like that. And I petted it maybe a couple of times, but nothing too major. So when I, so pretty much, it probably was my pet for like maybe a week and a half.
You
And
said it
then
was your best friend, though.
it was the best damn friend I had.
Okay. And how old were you at this time?
Shit, I was probably like, I was around like 10.
Okay. And it was
10.
because you can't go outside and play like regular kids because of your asthma.
Yeah.
So your best friend, your pet raccoon, who you named?
At that time, I named him Stripes.
Stripes. Okay. And
Right.
then you come home one day to come play with Stripes, and he's in the pot being cooked by your grandmother.
The thing is, I didn't even know that's the funny part. So what happened was so usually Stripes was always there pretty much every day, right? Or at least there was some sign of him somewhere, right? Usually at the shed or he was near the pond area somewhere there, coming straight from out of the woods, regardless. So pretty much when I didn't see him there, I didn't think too much of it. I was like, okay, maybe he, just was out in the woods or whatever today or whatever, right? So I go inside and everything. I smell something cooking and it smells good. I'm like, what are you making? And she said raccoon. I'm like, huh? It's like, she's like, yeah, I'm making raccoon. Is that Stripes? She just stared at me and said, don't ask any questions. And I went in my room and I just started crying.
Oh man. Rest in peace, Stripes. So what so you can't really go outside and play. Your best friend is a pet raccoon. How was your relationships with other people as you're growing up? Are you a reserved kid? Are you
Oh,
are is participating in sports making you more active in social aspects? So yeah, give me a little bit of background of socially how you were elementary, middle, and high school.
okay. So I was honestly, funny enough, you would never believe it, but I actually was an introvert. I was a straight introvert for probably from elementary school all the way up until I got to around middle school, late middle school years. So I pretty much kept to myself at the times. And also too, I was also like, trying to hang with the cool kids if I can and everything. And honestly, I just felt I wanted to feel accepted. So there was also times where I would do things to kind of get attention in a sense, where maybe I would act up or something like that. Funny enough, though, during elementary school, over to middle school, I had straight A's and B's all the way to that point. So even to when the whole thing, when they had the whole sagging pants thing, I even did that. But then I was like, this feels weird. I don't know why everybody likes this. It feels weird. I tried it for like a day, and I was like, I don't get what's the whole hype about this. So
when you say that you would try things to get attention, what were some of those things that you would try?
So I would try to pretty much be like when kids would be in when we'd be in the classroom, right? And so when there was always somebody in there that kind of did jokes in a sense or talked jokingly. So like I started working on trying to talk jokingly a little bit here and there too, as well. Like I'll do something like that, or if a teacher tells me to pay attention, stuff like that, I'll be like, I don't need to listen to you, stuff like that. Kind of, yeah. So like I will pretty much try to do something else out of the norm in a sense, to that degree, right? Even though I didn't like getting my butt whooped.
I mean, nobody likes that.
Yeah, definitely didn't like that at all. But, and then funny enough, you know what's crazy? There was a play. I think it was the Christmas play, I believe it was. I was dressed up as one of the reindeer. And I actually got on. So what happened was, when it wasn't after our turn was over or whatever, when I don't know where I even got this, but I had a pair of scissors in my hand. I was just running across stage with a pair of scissors. Not at anybody, I was just running across the stage with a pair of scissors. And I got yanked off the stage. And let's just say that I couldn't sit down for 2 days.
Yeah, I mean, you can't be running. I mean, that's rule number one. You don't run.
I don't even know what caused me to do that. I still don't remember to this day what caused me to even do that.
So are you saying that by doing these things to try and fall in with the cool crowd, that you weren't being authentically yourself, that you were trying to be somebody else in order to fit in?
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay.
That's pretty much for the most part. I tried to feel at least try to get some type of acknowledgement or acceptance
from your peers. Do you think that's in a connection from not getting that from your parents?
Oh yes, 100%.
How was your relationship with your grandmother? I mean, obviously she beat your butt. Sounds like you deserve to get your butt beaten more than a few times. But what was your relationship like with your grandmother growing up? Was she a disciplinarian that you didn't really have any like personal relationship with? It was a parent provider, or was there times where you felt comfortable enough to just talk on the real with your grandmother?
It was probably like a little mix of everything. So while she was raising us, she also had her son too as well, which is also my uncle and stuff, and also the other guy too as well, which we called our grandpa at the time as well. So he was like more of the disciplinary, more so everything. And so we were kind of scared of him. We were kind of scared of him. And then but it was always like that mix of everything, to where, yeah, there's good times, those bad times. And yeah, I get it. There was times to where we of course needed our butt whoop or needed, discipline because we did act up in a certain way. So I get that. Right. But there was also times too to where like sometimes that when we just do something minimal or something like that, we get yelled at for it. And it wasn't that like we're acting up. It just maybe we caused a mistake in some way or something like that, and we get yelled at for it. So my grandma always been the one to pretty much I'll look for into and everything. And there was of course this one time where I got mad at her only because when I was doing good in school, I had got an acceptance letter to go overseas to study, pretty much.
And how old were you when this happened?
I was 12, 13.
Oh, okay.
But it was like a thing. Of course, kids would been, all of course look for and after and all that stuff. The only thing that she would have to do was pay for the ticket there was like the flight ticket, I believe, and there was something else. Flight ticket, something else. But she said that I couldn't do it because of by this time I was getting medicine to where I go to the doctor like every other week to go get like these asthma shots, pretty much for my arm. So if I were to do that, I wouldn't be able to get the shots for like maybe a month and a half helping overseas. So I was mad about that because I felt like that was an opportunity because one, I never, of course, been overseas. And on top of the two, been a great experience for me to learn something to where maybe even today I might be somewhere else. Who knows? But it was just the opportunity of a lifetime for me. And since I didn't get that, I didn't know that it was going to lead. I didn't know that at least I wasn't aware at that time because I was a kid. But at that time I was just mad at her more so about that.
Okay, so we have these situation where you're getting A's and B's in elementary and middle school, kind of acting up a little bit to get attention from your peers in those grades to be a part of the cool kids. Tell me about that transition from middle school to high school, because you said you're getting good grades, and then what happened in high school?
Things got a little harder. This is at a time now to where I kind of start shifting the focus of I was in school, still doing stuff in school in terms of I'm still getting my grades and stuff, but it's just a little bit, school got a little bit harder. And also as well, I started, of course, at this time looking at a girlfriend was pretty much, or at least looking for a companion or just something like that, right? And so it was a mix of that, and also that's when we had the EGRA. That's when I started doing football and stuff.
The
So
EGRA.
yeah, so that was the thing in Emporia. It was like Emporia. It was like Emporia or Emporium something regional something. I forgot the exact term of it, but in Emporia they call it the EGRA.
And what is that?
Like a rec league. It's kind of like a rec
league.
league.
Okay, a rec league. Okay, all right.
Sports and stuff like that. So I was doing one for football and stuff, and that was my first time into football at the time before high school. And I was playing. So pretty much, we was doing the tryouts and stuff. I tried out and I got on there. And funny enough, we was doing the whole lineup, tackling each other. And this part I knew how to tackle. So the first time I get on there, I get tackled. To hit my shin, and my whole thing gets swollen and bruised to where I couldn't play like the first 3 or 4 games.
Jeez.
And yeah, it was fun. Well, doing the exercises and everything, I want to actually play in the game, and then I have to wait another extra almost 3 weeks in order for me to play.
Right.
So that's when it started getting into there.
Okay, so in high school, now things are changing. You said, now I'm looking for a girlfriend.
Yeah.
School work gets a little bit harder. Tell me about the process of just high school. You're playing sports. What was your social life like? As you're starting to develop these or trying to find a girlfriend, did you get one? How was that relationship with her? And did the relationship with your parents have anything to do with how you moved as far as relationships with women were concerned at that young age?
So at that age, before I'm more self-aware now, so my first girlfriend wasn't even at my own school. It was actually at another school. Because this is when, of course, at the time, you have cell phones now. They had Facebook and stuff. So, I was going Facebook, all that stuff. So I had a girlfriend and everything, and we was talking and everything like that, as usual. And then what ended up happening was on the 4th of July, of course, happens on a holiday, the 4th of July, she tells me that she doesn't want to be with me anymore. And this is my first girlfriend. So on 4th of July, I think I was already being stressed out too anyway, just because of on the back of my mind of just all the other things that kind of is going on in my life between, with me growing up as a kid, as my parents, stuff like that, like the lackluster of love and stuff like that and everything. And I forgot I was stressing about that time. I was stressing about something, but probably was school, but I think it was more so pertaining to sports. Cause I think at this time I was dealing with some type of mental issue.
Hmm.
I just can't remember exactly what it was, but the night that she broke up, that my first girlfriend broke up with me, and told me that something in me just snapped in a sense to where everything went dark for me.
Hmm.
So I got very depressed. And the thing is that when I was this happened at my dad's house.
Mm-hmm.
So my dad has a train track. The train goes by and stuff every single day. So I literally, when she told me that and everything, I kind of like just blanked out. And so I literally went behind my dad's house and started walking towards the train tracks, and the train was coming. And then all of a sudden, almost at the last second, my stepbrother actually came and snatched me off the train trails at that time. And that's when I went to the hospital that night. I just started crying and everything. I was just saying, nobody loves me. I don't feel like I'm worth anything. I just feel like that, like the world is against me, and that I'm never going to really find somebody or just feel like nobody's really going to cherish me or love me for me. Right. And that really hit hard for me because of, not be able to have both my parents in the same household too. Also, as well, the funny thing is that nobody really told me or taught me anything about girlfriends, taught me anything about really any type of life lessons like that, except for me watching television,
Hmm.
surprisingly. And the thing is, I'm an anime fan. So anime really got me because of the life lessons, surprisingly. So like at that time, I was very depressed, and it took a while for me to pretty much get back on my feet, because like at least operate as usual.
How long?
Probably 3 months.
Wow. And you were how old at this time?
I was 13. No, I was uh 15 going on 16.
15 going on 16. So what finally brought you out of that dark place?
What brought me out of it was the thing of after school, my grandma got me signed up with the Boys and Girls Club. So after school, I go to the Boys and Girls Club, play basketball there, chill out. They had like a whole game room with gonna be on the computer, stuff like that. So that kind of like over time started getting me back to the norm
Mm-hmm.
of things. And so when you're talking about, from school, then doing after school activities, like going to the Boys and Girls Club, because that's pretty much where everybody used to go anyway to shoot basketball and stuff like that. Plus, it was safer for my grandma instead of me going to like the actual basketball courts and stuff like that, because you never really know what could happen.
Right.
So it was a safer option. So I appreciate it for that. So that's really kind of what started getting me out there, because it started making me kind of forget about that in a sense. And then also I started developing friendships as well at that time too.
Okay. So throughout high school, you're going to the Boys and Girls Club. You had your first girlfriend. It was major heartbreak, but you got through it. Took a little while, but you got through it. What happens after high school? What are the next steps for you?
So the whole goal of high school, what the intended purpose was, that I was hoping to get into the NFL. That was my first goal and purpose. And so when I noticed though that my coach, they have favoritism, so they favor more other players over the rest, he invested into them to go to these camps and stuff like that. But then when that didn't work out, and I started realizing that, I started focusing on, then how about then going to try to do, become like a game designer or something like that. So I started focusing more on trying to do college. But due to financial issues and everything like that, it was hard for me to do it, or at least do the things I want to do, because I was originally trying to do Full Sail University, and then there was another thing, was like the Art Institute somewhere in Virginia. I can't remember exactly, but that was like one of the two things I was trying to get into. So I was working on my grades and everything, but I never mounted up to enough to where I can get to that. So I had to end up pretty much at that point. I got into selling candy in my sophomore year, because I was trying to figure out, like, why is everybody selling candy for, or whatever, right? So my friend at the time, he knew somebody who will go to Roses and he will actually go in there, steal the boxes of candy. We pay him $5. He goes in there, steal the boxes of candy, and then he give it to us, right? So I get like 25 things of Snickers, another 10 or 15 of like some M&M, stuff like that. And I go back to high school, and I start selling them for like $1.50, something like that. And then one time I made like about $200, $300 in a week. I'm like, wait a minute, this is what they be doing?
So y'all are running an illegal candy ring in high school. That's what you're basically telling me. Yeah.
Okay. Yes, it definitely was. It definitely was.
Okay, so is that the start of your entrepreneurial spirit?
Yes.
And where did that lead you after high school? Because obviously, once you graduate high school, you can't keep going back to the high school to sell candy.
Yeah. So I got it. So that's when I got my first job at Food Lion around my senior year. So I was working at Food Lion. And then at this time, this in the midst of entrepreneurship and everything, I started reading Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I started reading Think and Grow Rich, right? And so when I was reading these books and stuff like that, this is when the rebel side of me started kicking in. I'm like, why the hell I gotta go to this stupid job for? I don't need this job. I need to live my life. I need to do this and this, right? So I got into this. I forgot the name of the company, but it was like selling roadside assistance a long time ago. And so I was getting into that. So I got online, looked it up and everything. Started getting into that. I started like doing postings on like different Facebook groups and stuff like that. And then in a sneaker group, a dude hit me up, which his name is Sean. He actually told me about another opportunity for a multi-level marketing company called WorldVentures, which is a travel company.
Okay.
And so I get into that, and I actually he actually got me on one of his first events. And so when he got me on one of the first events, it was in like North Carolina, right? And I was in North Carolina, went to the first event. It was called like a regional marketing event. And so I go there, get a chance to like, see what the company is, see all the people, the hype, and it excited me. Like I felt hype about it, felt great about it and everything. And so I got signed up for it, paid for my membership and everything. And I started doing travel parties where like I try to invite people out, let them know exactly what the company is, try to get to sign up on the membership so that way they get access to exclusive deals to travel and everything. And so I was doing that. I actually literally stuck with this for like about 2-3 years, funny enough. And so I went to one of the big events. The first one was in Glendale, Arizona. Mind you, when this was in Glendale, Arizona, it was still my sophomore year. I mean, no, this is my senior year now. And I was when I was working at Food Lion, and I was also going to the barbershop to sweep hair to make some money. I even had like a tip jar and everything, just so I could raise enough money to just even make it there. Because I know by flight I wasn't gonna have enough money for, but I was able to do it through a bus. So raise up enough money to get a Greyhound bus to take a 32-hour bus ride there. 32 hours. Now, I'm gonna say this too, real quick. It's a Greyhound by day, it's a Freetown by night. There's a lot of crazy stuff I've seen at a young age going to Arizona. There was a lot of weird stuff. Okay. But I get to Glendale, Arizona, and I meet up with everybody there. That's why I met some other friends like Jonathan Dula, Nick, and go to the event. It was like a giant stadium, everything. Like it was amazing. If it really like one, I developed friendships, and also too as well, I was able to develop an experience of where there's something more out here than just me living in Emporia all my life, right? Is more opportunity for me to do things and stuff like that. So that's what really started giving that launching career into like me getting into at least entrepreneurship and be able to get a bigger like view of life, how it could like different ways of how it could possibly be.
Okay, that's cool. That opened up your worldview, getting out of this small town. You
Hmm.
meet people from different walks of life. This was your education in life.
Yeah.
So let's fast forward to you starting the Growth Unscripted podcast. What made you start it? What was the spark? And what is the podcast about?
Okay. So funny enough, how Growth Unscripted even got started was me and my friend. We were trying to devise like some different names pretty much. So first it wasn't even called Growth Unscripted at first. It was actually called Soul Sync because I actually like talking about relationships and stuff like that, right? And so it was Soul Sync, but then going back looking at them, I talk about a lot of different things. So yes, I like talking about relationships, spirituality, but also motivation, talk about life, conspiracy theories, all of that. And so like when you hear the name Soul Sync, it thinks more relationship more so than something more broader. So go back to the drawing board, and I was like, I want something that doesn't really appease to anybody. Like I want it to be like something where it's me, and either you like me or you don't like me. That's really what I wanted to be. And so kept going over different names and stuff like that, and me and him devised a name called Growth Unscripted. I was like, you know what? That sounds pretty fire. I like that because it gets more into being raw, being more into being more authentic with yourself, and also as well as something as well that is more broad to get into different topics all in one.
Okay.
And so that's how Growth Unscripted pretty much, at least the name of it and everything, got a part of it and pretty much what it's about. Now, what motivated me behind it is even doing podcasting anyway was because one, I like to talk. I like having deep, high level conversations. That's one thing about me. I don't mind surface level conversations from time to time, but I actually do that. What's really like my bread and butter is getting into that deep spirit of resonation because I'll know when I get into a high of it because I start getting goosebumps when I'm talking. And that's when I know I'm really getting into it, right? And so one of the things that kind of really motivated me though to even do podcasting and stuff is because one, of course, I want to build a better future. Not even just for myself, but also I have a daughter. She's 5 years old. She's a sassy little thing too. but she's honestly my biggest motivation because of, we talked about like my childhood and everything like that is I don't want her to ever experience anything like that in any type of way. Like I want to be able to provide her a life to where she either wants to go to college, don't want to go to college, she want to travel the world, everything. I want to be able to give her that opportunity to do so without any type of restrictions. And I know in order for me to do that, I have to make sure to better myself and improve my foundation for who I am. Because if I can't do that, then nobody else is going to do it but me at the end of the day.
Right.
And so that's pretty much is really what's got me started on doing Growth Unscripted for the podcasting.
Okay. And as a new podcaster, what are some of the things that you've learned about podcasting that you didn't expect or you didn't expect would be as hard as they are?
In the hindsight of things, I would think, podcasting was okay, get a camera, get a light or so, get a microphone, and that's it. And that's pretty much it, you good to go. Which in a sense it is, but at the same time, if you're talking about, especially if you're talking about having people on your podcast and everything like that, there's a lot into one, you got to schedule it out. You got to keep up with it, especially if you're somebody like me to where if it's not placed on your calendar some way, somehow, and then you just thinking of it, try to retain in your head, you're going to end up messing yourself up. And so between keeping up with everything and also just the lengthiness of being able to, if you don't have the money for it, have them do the editing, have to, make sure the sound is good prior, have to, make sure like you at least look presentable, like everything. There's just so many different things that goes into it than what the surface level is for podcasting.
So have you found it more challenging to what you originally thought it was going to be, or are you getting what you expected out of it?
I'm getting what I'm expected out of it,
Mhm.
because one of the things I love about podcasting is just upon meeting new people,
Mhm.
different people from different aspects, what they do, and plus as well as possible collaborations too as well that I like. So being able to talk to other people and meet them for what they're doing, because they may have something I may need, or I may have something that they may need, or some way I might be able to help them out and vice versa.
Mhm.
So I'm really big on collaborations. That's me. So like I have a really big heart, and I'm a naturally a nice person. And I'm a genuine person who really want people to win and to succeed in life. Because I know my blessings will come anyway, regardless. But as long as I'm doing what's right in my heart for other people, I know everything else will fall in line in due time. As long as I'm remaining consistent and staying intentional when I do move.
So you've done 10 episodes so far. How many of them have been just you, and how many of them have been guests?
So honestly, only one has been me.
Okay.
The rest of them has been guests.
Now that one that's been you,
Uh-huh.
that's where you were talking about some struggles that you were going through at that particular time while filming that episode, correct?
Yes.
Can you tell my audience a little bit about that particular episode before we get into some of the episodes that you've had with other guests?
Yes. So with that episode, that happened literally last year in December. Pretty much what happened was I would work as security. I was doing a field technician as a IT, where I was driving on the road pretty much all the time. And this is when I was staying with my ex in her parents' house and stuff as well. So so I started working at the beginning of January of last year, right? Which, hey, pay good money and stuff like that and everything. But when I started being a little bit more on my own, having to go to these jobs and stuff by myself and everything, it just started becoming more lonely in a sense of when I got to go do those far jobs. You're talking like me going from here to Delaware, me going from here to South Carolina, right? And it's not simply me going there to that one job and that's it. You're talking about me going from there to wherever that further job is in South Carolina. Then I go to Charleston, South Carolina. Then I gotta go to Charlotte, North Carolina. Then I have to go to probably maybe somewhere in Mechanicsville, Chesterfield, or whatever, right? Like go 3 to maybe 4 jobs in a day. So by the time I get home, I'm already gonna be at home around like maybe 9, 10 o'clock at night, probably even 11. And so by that time, you're talking about one, barely to see my daughter if she even awake. And on top of that, by the time I get home, she's asleep.
Mhm.
And and one thing about me is that I care a lot about my daughter, and plus I want to see her, spend time with her. So when I'm working so much, now is weighing heavier on my mental.
Mhm.
So what ended up happening is that what I used to do was I used to go to the jobs and I go do the job and everything. I just finish early, but I don't clock out. I don't clock out of the job early though. I still remain clocked in because I actually had a spoofer location app set up on my phone where I could spoof my location so it still stays there.
Mhm.
So I would do that and then I would check out a job after like an hour or so later. So I could still get paid a good amount of money, but still be able to make it home in time to be able to spend time with my daughter. And so that ended up eventually catching up to me. They found out. I ended up getting fired from my job. And then the next day after that, me and my girlfriend broke up. And so it wasn't like we ended on anything bad. It was just more so that, hey, we're both moving different walks of life. She prefer more like the steady, want to go more like live off in the country and stuff type of lifestyle. And that's cool. But since for me, especially my line of work, I want to live somewhere where I can actually be able to associate with, talk to people and everything like that. And also too, as well, just because of a lot of past stuff that we both had together from when we used to live together a long time ago, they just that trauma wall that she just could never really get over.
Mhm.
So due to that, even though we were doing couples therapy for like 3 months, I think that therapy session really more so opened her eyes up more to that she just can't get over this.
Get over what?
So it get over the trauma from get over any type of past trauma that we both had together when we used to live together. It wasn't like something like crazy, like me being like AWOL crazy or anything like that. It was just more so just like a lot of issues that struggle with us from the intimacy level to where it just caused a lot of issues over time. So that pretty much that created frustrations, then created us arguing with each other and all that type of stuff. And so that ended up pretty much just creating a big wall for us, pretty much to where she just can never get over. Even though, yes, I've changed way after that, but it's just that even though she still clings on to it.
Yeah.
So that romantic side was just gone.
Romantic side was gone. So when you say that there were issues in the relationship, can you make a parallel between the relationship with her and the relationships you had with your parents?
So pretty much what ended up happening was before our recent breakup, we didn't get back. We weren't together for a whole year the year prior. So we weren't together a whole year. So back in February of 2023, I did therapy and stuff. And so when I seek therapy and everything, started talking with my therapist, she asked me some questions, and then when me answering the questions, it started really having me open my eyes up to a lot of things. To where, due to both my parents not both being in my life all the time, that I would wanted to, as much as I would wanted to, it started creating like say like the lack of love, and also as well too just the abandonment issues and everything like that. So I'm a very touchy feely person. So like one of the things that kind of pretty much created an issue was that because I was so touchy feely, funny enough, she was like that in the beginning, but then over time when when me and her together and stuff, she started changing slowly and slowly. And then after we had our daughter, that's when things pretty much just went dead at that point. And so I realized that me wanting to be intimate all the time, or me wanting to be touchy feely all the time, or be around her, just because it's the lack of love I didn't get as a kid. And so that carried over into the relationship. Even though like I'm a very caring person, like I'm the type of person to where like I would do things for you while you having to ask, because that's just who I am. And then if I know there's certain things you like, I would take my time or take my effort out to make sure to do those certain things to make sure you're good. And so it was just starting to get to a point to her to where like she was starting to become more of the opposite now, to where she just prefer more quality time, and she doesn't really care for all the other stuff and everything like that. But it was a big issue because at that time, me and her, it was starting to become more of the point of there was just a lot of past trauma that she had going on and I had going on, to where we both need to fix and stuff. And so when we did get back together in 2024 of last year, it was going good for a little while. But then when once again the intimacy thing happened again, it was really more so create issue too. And it was not like I want to say
You
like
mean when you say the intimacy thing, you mean a lack of
lack of
intimacy?
intimacy.
Yeah, lack
Yeah,
of intimacy from her.
correct. So not saying we had to have sex all the time or anything like that, but more so just like words of affirmation, like speaking life into me and stuff like that. Like I'm always been the one to initiate everything first, 99% of the time. So I pretty much always said I love you every day, complimented you every day, and just want to give you massages and stuff too every day and stuff like that, or at least every other or whatever. Just like if I see you tired or exhausted or you've been working all day, just help out. So I've always been one to initiate everything. She never did. So then even when we were doing therapy and stuff, and the therapist recommended that we kind of like switch roles in terms of love language and stuff like that, it was moving, but it wasn't moving fast in a sense.
Okay.
And and honestly too, when we started going to the whole point about we were when we were living together and everything like that, when we started diving more into that and stuff, the therapist recommended that she write down like all the things from her point of view of what have happened and what's possibly causing her to be to hold back. And so that kind of pretty much, when she did that, and then the next session she read it out loud, honestly, I felt bad about myself because of all those things I did, because of all the things on my side that I done. But at the same time too, that's pretty much too as well. At the same time, that's where it can kind of created that realization for her that because of this, she realized now she just can't get over this.
Yeah.
Because that happened.
So as you're telling this story, and thank you for sharing it with our audience, as you're telling the story for your audience, what was the feedback that you got as you opened yourself up to your audience and explaining the things that you're dealing with on an emotional level? What was the feedback from the audience?
For people that listened in and everything, they said that they totally understand, and that some of them also had been through some of the similar situations. So kind of gave a sense of, I'm not alone, right? Which I appreciate, and I love them for that. But also as well, some of them actually too felt inspired because, of course, in that episode when I was talking about myself and everything, I was also in episode 2 where I said, hey, like the next day or two after, like me and her spoke in front of her parents and everything about pretty much like we was going to, not be together anymore, but to co-parent. And then I was actually going to move to Florida and stuff because there was more opportunity there. And then how her mom said, well, you're leaving your daughter, you're abandoning her, and you just going to traumatize her. And then how I just literally broke down crying because it wasn't just more so like what she said. It was more so because all my life I've always been told by people and stuff like, that I'm going to abandon my daughter, or that I'm not doing enough for my daughter, or that I'm just not being the best father I could be for her. And I know I'm doing the absolute best that I can, but it's just that when her mom said that though, it just gave like that last hit to just made me just start fully breaking down crying. But then when I was crying, when I was crying though, that's when I started having the vision of knowing what I'm doing right. Cause one thing I realized was that, God gave me the vision of what he sees what I'm capable of. And that it's not meant for everybody to understand. And the thing is that as long as I know what I'm doing is right in my heart and my spirit, and that I'm not causing or doing any type of ill will to anybody else, then I know I'm on the right path. And the thing is, I'm not going to please everybody at the end of the day. That's the honest truth. Because regardless whether I'm doing good or I'm doing bad, regardless, there's always going to be somebody who's going to nitpick or hate on you regardless, no matter what it is. The only thing that matters at the end of the day is that you're doing right for you. Because for me, I do my best to think logically. And also, I'm the type of person, I run multiple scenarios in my head every single day. It's actually pretty crazy. But the thing is, though, how can I expect to do right for my daughter if I can't get my own self straight first? Like, my own foundation is not right. Because in order for me to protect her, in order for me to support her, in order for me to take care of her the way I need to, I got to make sure I'm good so I can be able to do that for her. So as long as I'm doing my part within the midst of all that, still being there for her, still talking to her, still, spending my time with her as many times as I can, that's what matters the most in the midst of me working on everything. And that's one thing that I had to really understand inside myself and be able to move forward in order for me to be able to push forward and push past the whole thing between my girlfriend and my ex-girlfriend and my job and everything like that. So you just keep moving forward.
So you're having these type of conversations where you're opening up on your podcast, you personally opening up, you the host, are opening up on your podcast. Does that set the tone throughout the podcast for guests to open up, to have these real conversations and these real personal conversations?
Yeah, because the thing is that I'm honestly not a judgmental person. And the thing is that I'm pretty sure to anybody who follows my podcast and listens to my podcast faithfully, they're not judgmental either. Because the thing is that nobody's perfect at the end of the day. We all gonna have our problems, we're all gonna have our issues. But the thing is that my whole point of Growth Unscripted is to provide that light and provide that the opportunity for guests to get on and just be themselves and just talk about what's really going on in their life. Because my whole thing is to let people know, let the other people outside know, listening in, that no matter who you are, no matter if you're making $1 billion a year to $100 a year or whatever, like, you're still a human being at the end of the day. It doesn't matter what it is, what part of life you're coming from. It's just the whole point to show people that you are you, and that it's not like you just popped out the womb and boom, you're successful and here you are. Like, when people look at these celebrities and everything like that, they idolize them and they think that, that these people don't really have any major issues going on in their lives, and they're just like these beings that just keep going and working. If that was the case, then why is there's so many celebrities that actually committed suicide or in depression or in these homes and stuff like that? Because of all this that they're going through. Because these are things that they don't have an outlet for. They don't have nowhere to really speak their truth, or at least speak their mind, without some type of individual or some type of people that's going to judge them regardless.
They don't have safe spaces.
Correct. And so Growth Unscripted is nothing more than a safe space for people to be able to be themselves and just talk. If you always wanted to have like certain level conversations, I'm here for that. Like, I don't care what it is. If you want to talk about a damn near Snickers bar, I don't care. Let's have a conversation.
The Snickers bar, the stolen Snickers bars that you were selling back in high school. So what's the future look like for Growth Unscripted and for yourself?
So right now I'm working on trying to get more into the community. So due to my financial situation and everything, I'm actually staying in Richmond, Virginia for right now, for the rest of this year. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to work on trying to build community. I want to get inside the Richmond community. I actually want to get inside the DMV area, period, altogether, because I actually want to get to know the peoples within the communities, what they're working on and everything like that. Because I want to find ways how I can either collab with them, get them on podcasts, and probably even set up a thing to where we have like a whole segment to where like we do like a live podcast session, to where we rent out a restaurant or event space, get people to come in, they ask their questions about any type of thing they want for points of life, whether that's talking about business, whether that's talking about relationships or anything like that, and you get like a live
Audience.
Live audience and stuff, to where you get like a whole panel and we just have conversations with them. And that's one thing I'm working on trying to do right now, is getting more involved so I can make that happen. And also trying to get into more of the thing is, I want to personally get my own studio personally. So I want to get my own studio. So for the time being though, I'm actually leveraging one of my people's. He has a media company and he actually got a studio that he's actually let me capitalize and use, where it has all the equipment and lighting and everything. And it's actually a good deal too. $250. They do the shooting, they do the distribution, the editing, everything. So hey, honestly, that's not a bad deal compared to what I've been coming across.
Yeah.
So it's more so I want to work on though, trying to do more, get my own studio, at least do more of those, so I get more professional setups. Because I'll be honest, I'm personally bougie. I ain't gonna lie, I'm bougie. But I be bougie though smart though. If I can't do something, then I'm not gonna try to force it to happen if I can't actually do it.
Well, Devonnte, not Dante, Devonnte.
It's okay.
I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for sharing your story, giving my audience not only a look into your personal life, but also your professional life and the things that you've got going on with Growth Unscripted and your podcast, the ideas that you have for the future of your podcast. Thank you for coming on and sharing that with the audience. I know they're going to really enjoy listening and watching your story, your growth from this point, from your 10th podcast to your 200th, to your 300th, to your 400th. So I wish you nothing but success, and want to thank you again for coming on the podcast.
Oh man, thank you so much. And also one last thing, just for just let everybody know, if I want to, y'all can follow me at growthunscripted.podcast on Instagram. And also as well, just so you know, I actually do have my coaching sessions all set up now. So if you actually hit my link in my bio, you can actually book a free 30-minute consultation, and I can actually help create you strategize. We can help create and strategize a way to help you execute on any goals or anything that you got going on as well.
All right. So audience, you heard it. And we're going to put all that information in the description section of the podcast so that y'all can all find it. And you'll also find his bio on our website that'll have all that information on there where you can get your free 30-minute consultation to strategize and get right in life.
Yes,
Devonnte,
sir.
thank you again for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Now, thank you so much, Bruce. Your podcast is amazing. I can't wait to even listen to more episodes that you got and you see what you got going on next.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem. You have a nice one, brother.
You too. I want to thank Devonnte once again for coming on the show and sharing so much about his personal life. You know, as a podcast host myself, I feel that it's important to open up and share stories about yourself, not only because it creates a narrative of what your podcast is going to be about, who the host is, so that you know who the host is. And it also creates a directive for all the guests to say, look, this is how we do things on our podcast. Don't come on here unless you're ready to talk and open up. And Devonnte came on this podcast and he opened up. Why? Because I've opened up and he's opened up on his own podcast. So you can expect his guests to open up on his podcast as well, because he's an open book. And that's what you should be if you decide to have your own show. Your audience has to know you. Your audience has to like you. Your audience has to respect you. The only way to do that is by showing who you are authentically, not to create some facade or idea that people want you to be, but be exactly who you are. And if you are who you are, people will want to listen, because everybody's got a story to tell. Everybody has a story to tell. And Devonnte told a hell of a story today, not only from his childhood and his upbringing, but just his adult life and the struggles that he's going through still today because of things that happened in his childhood trauma, y'all. That's what me and my sister always bring up. Childhood trauma. It affects all of us, even in our adulthood. And I love the fact that he's going to therapy to try and improve upon and try and better himself for his daughter. Everything he does for his daughter. And that's commendable. That's the way it should be. So go check out his podcast. Like I said, all the information for his podcast and his 30-minute free consultation will be in the description section here of the podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening. I want to thank you for watching. And until next time, as always, I'll holla. Whew, that was a hell of a show. Thank you for rocking with us here on Unsolicited Perspectives with Bruce Anthony. Now, before you go, don't forget to follow, subscribe, like, comment, and share our podcast wherever you're listening or watching it to it. Pass it along to your friends. If you enjoy it, that means the people that you rock will enjoy it also. So share the wealth, share the knowledge, share the noise. And for all those people that say, well, I don't have a YouTube. If you have a Gmail account, you have a YouTube. Subscribe to our YouTube channel where you can actually watch our video podcast and YouTube exclusive content. But the real party is on our Patreon page, After Hours Uncensored and Talking Straight-ish. After Hours Uncensored is another show with my sister. And once again, the key word there is uncensored. Those are exclusively on our Patreon page. Jump onto our website at unsolicitedperspectives.com for all things us. That's where you can get all of our audio, video, our blogs, and even buy our merch. And if you're really feeling genuine and want to help us out, you can donate on our donations page. Donations go strictly to improving our software and hardware so we can keep giving you guys good content that you can clearly listen to and that you can clearly see. So any donation would be appreciative. Most importantly, I want to say thank you, thank you, thank you for listening and watching and supporting us. And I'll catch you next time. Audi 5000. Peace.